What is up guys, and welcome to another Red Dead Online video. Today we are going through our favorite legendary bounties that we were able to do during this Frontier Pursuits update. This week the Frontier Pursuits update did come to an end. We will carry on getting weekly updates with weekly clothing, weekly bonuses and benefits discounts here and there, but the main bulk of the Frontier Pursuits update has now ended. We've got the end of the Outlaw Pass, which happened this week, and also for this week we have the last ever legendary bounty. For this Frontier Pursuits update though, we did manage to get 10 different legendary bounties, and in this video I'm going to rate them from my favorite to my least favorite, and I want you guys to do the exact same thing in the comments down below. Just to go over all the legendary bounties that we've had in order of the weeks that we've had them. We've had Barbarella Alcazar, who is the leader of the bloodthirsty Del Lobos gang, wanted for thievery, extortion and murder. Next up was the Wharfman, who is wanted for a string of brutal murders. We then had the Hoot family, who are wanted for multiple counts of barbarism. Next up was Sergio Vincenza, wanted for the assassination attempt on the governor of Saint Denis. Next up was Cecil C. Tucker, wanted for murder and burning down homes in the slums of Saint Denis. We then had Philip Carlisle, wanted for embezzlement and murder. After that we had Tobin Winfield, wanted for larceny and embezzlement. Then we had Nettie Oil, wanted for robbing stagecoaches and trains with a particular fancy for stealing from Leviticus Cornwall. After that we had Red Ben Clemson, wanted for train robberies. And finally we had UConn Nick, who is wanted for murder of several men. So that's all the different legendary bounties that we've had during this Frontier Pursuits update, and I do hope that these go back into a cycle as we're waiting for the next update, as well as once that next update does finally come, hopefully we should be getting more legendary bounties like this, because even though I'm doing a list like this where I'm talking about the best ones and the worst ones, realistically all of these legendary bounties have been very fun to play through, and it's been one of the best things that's been added to Red Dead Online in my opinion. So going from my least favorite all the way to my favorite, the first one to talk about is Tobin Winfield. He comes at last place for me. I did not like this one whatsoever. Yes, it was still a decent 15 minutes to play through, but when you go and compare this legendary bounty to all of the other ones, it was just lacking so much. For this mission, 90% of it is just you following Tobin Winfield round up until he tries to run away in the last maybe couple minutes, which you can easily catch up with him and then easily take him back to the sheriff's office. For me, this one was lacking. Next up is Barbarella Alcazar. She was the first one to be introduced for these legendary bounties, and all in all, as it was the first one, was pretty decent, but as we started to get more and more come out, unfortunately her one was very simple, but with that it does make sense for her to be very simple. This is the first legendary bounty, like I said, so for this to be introduced to the legendary bounties, to everything new that's been added for this Frontier Pursuits update, it 100% made sense. But now we're at the point of where every legendary bounty has been done. You start to look back at all of this stuff. You didn't really have to do that much to get Barbarella. It was actually a very simple legendary bounty, but because it was the new thing, the very new thing that came out with the Frontier Pursuits update, it did have that excitement already in it, so it didn't need to include anything new to do with it. But Barbarella Alcazar is the one that I'm putting at 9th place. At 8th place I then have Nettie Oil. She was the one that was done a couple weeks ago, and for me it was just frustrating. It was very frustrating. I kind of liked the story and I wanted to see Leviticus Cornwall come into these legendary bounties. Finally we hear his name within Red Dead Online, and I thought this was actually going to be sick. She even had a very cool story, working as a procuress for ladies of the night, and then eventually she went on to develop her and all the ladies that followed her as bandit, robbing stagecoaches and trains with a particular fancy for stealing from Leviticus Cornwall. All of this sounded very cool to me, but actually getting into the gameplay of things, you start off waiting for her, and then finally when she does come into the game, you end up having to chase her, which she could have been one of 5 different people, and it was just very irritating to do. At number 7 we have the Hoot family. Yes, I actually did very much enjoy this one in the first couple of weeks. The Hoot family definitely have one of my favorite trailers to introduce this legendary bounty, because there was 4 different people that you had to get, and they were very brutal, and it was nice to see that within a trailer. It actually got me very hyped to play through it. This one though is very similar to Barbarella Alcazar, except you have to track down 4 different people, and once you got to those locations it wasn't too difficult to deal with. It was actually very easy to do, and that's the reason I'm putting this at number 7. At number 6 I have put Sergio Vincenza there. The reason I've put him there is because he is actually very similar to Barbarella Alcazar, except this was the first one where we started to be introduced to new things within this game of Red Dead Online. As you got close to him, because he is a sharpshooter, as soon as he had you in his sights, your screen would flash red to say that he's targeting on you. You had to run around very quickly with this one, making sure that he was never able to get a shot off you. I found most of time because he's in such a high place. He has that high ground that most cover I went to, he pretty much got a hit on me, so I had to carry on running around constantly trying to avoid him from shooting me. And number 5, I have put the Wharfman. Now this was the one straight after Barbarella Alcazar, and going from Barbarella Alcazar where you just have to go from one location to the other to quickly pick her up and go all the way back to the sheriff's office. This one actually involved a lot more story, and it was just actually cool to see someone running with wolves. They had wolves as enemies that you had to stop, and I feel like this was actually very cool. And number 4, I have put UConn Nick, which is this week's legendary bounty. This one felt pretty decent. I actually very much enjoyed it. Running into Fort Riggs, having to kill every gang member and having the choice of taking out that bear cage, where that bear would then just roam free, killing every single enemy, meaning that you just need to be on the sidelines picking each and every one off. And as soon as that is done, we were then introduced to Deadeye, the actual real Deadeye, where time would slow down and you have a chance to shoot the enemy. We don't get that on Red Dead Online because it'll just mess up everything. If everyone was able to slow down time, it's just not possible. It is just not possible. But being able to do this within a mission like a legendary bounty was actually very cool to see. And number 3, I have put Philip Carlisle, and he is wanted for embezzlement and the murder of a fellow employee of the Lemoyne Trading Company. And the reason I like this one is because it actually involved a very good story. Someone has killed his fellow employee, he then runs off into the swamps of La Grasse. 2 years later, you come across him and he is absolutely lost it. He is mental until the point he drugs you, quickly escapes, and you have this hallucination. The whole thing is actually very cool to see and very fun to play through. In this legendary bounty as well, this is what introduced night folk to Red Dead Online. We've seen a lot of them within the story of Red Dead Redemption 2, and there was a lot of cool stuff, loads of cool mysteries, loads of stuff that still have been unconfirmed and still people do not know what's actually happening with it, but some very nice stuff within the story, and it's nice to see that seep all the way over to Red Dead Online. And number 2, I've put Red Ben Clemson, and he is the train robber from last week. That was last week's legendary bounty, and this one, it didn't really add anything new, but it was actually very fun to play through. Having to chase down a train, jump onto the back or jump on the front depending on how you did it, take out everyone on the train to finally get Red Ben Clemson and take him back to the sheriff's office. This one was a bit of a weird one for me because it wasn't really adding anything new to the game like you had with Philip Carlisle, where you had the hallucination, like you had with UConn Nick, where he had Deadeye. This one was just plain old simple, kill everyone, and it was just very fun to do, and it never got boring whilst trying to do this as a 5-star legendary bounty. And then finally at number 1, I have put Cecil C. Tucker, and very similar to Red Ben Clemson, it didn't really add too much. There was no new gameplay mechanics, nothing like that, but you went to a location, he was not there, you had to survive a pretty much a wave-based situation where you're just in this sort of fort, killing everyone that comes near. Eventually Cecil C. Tucker will come in, and as he comes in, the whole fort just sets on fire. This one, like I said, doesn't add anything new, but it was just very fun to play through. Run around killing everyone, and then eventually being able to get Cecil C. Tucker and then taking him back to the closest sheriff's office. So that is the order that personally I would rate all of these legendary bounties that we've had over the last 10 weeks. This is just a personal list. I would like you guys to leave your thoughts in the comments down below of which one's your favorite and which one's your least favorite. For me, all of them were actually very fun to play through this year, and there was only small little things that made me put one higher than the other. The only one that I didn't really like is obviously Tobin Winfield. I just felt it was very boring, and that is the only one out of all of these legendary bounties. But leave all your thoughts in the comments down below. But anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going. So see ya.